Hello YouTube, and welcome to a long overdue episode in the life of a virtual cargo pilot. I'm your host as always, Captain Mac, and you can see that we are flying a TNT livery today. It'll be in the PMDG 777, which I finally got working here in P3D version 4. It wasn't working originally. For some reason the brakes weren't working right, but they appear to be now, so hopefully we won't have any issues. That being said, you may note that we are no longer flying with National. We will not be flying with National anymore at all. Enough about that. So, first thing we want to do here, because we're going to keep these as short as we can, is we need to take care of our fuel. And I want to take care of fuel before we do ACARS, because once we start the flight, it's going to tell us how much fuel we have in there and all that. But before I do that, I would like to note that apparently there is a minor controversy over at Millennium Aviation among some of the pilots who apparently like to load their fuel after pushing back the aircraft, and this has led to a little bit of back and forth with the staff and a couple of pilots. So let's just clarify, it doesn't make sense to load fuel into your aircraft after you push it back. You load it in before you push it back. Now there are some aircraft like the Aerosoft Airbus and some others that allow you to load fuel like in a real-time state, so while you're doing your boarding and all that, you're loading fuel, and that's fine. That's still before you push back the aircraft, and you can have ACARS running. Like I could start ACARS right now and then load the fuel and it's going to be alright, but I'm going to just wait to start ACARS until after I do the fuel. The point is, don't push your aircraft back and then load fuel into it. It just doesn't make sense, and we're trying to get ACARS set up so that once you release the parking brake, you can't load fuel anymore after that. So just make it a habit. That's the right way to do it. That's the way they do it in the real world. They load their fuel while the things on the parking stand are at the gate, and so that's the way we're going to do it. So that being said, let's hop into the aircraft here. And we actually need to come down here. Now you can turn on the FMC by holding down the menu button until it comes up, and we're going to go into FS Actions and Fuel, and you can see it's got 145,000. Oh, it's on kilograms too. Son of a biscuit weaver. We need to change that real quick. Let's go back to PMDG setup, aircraft, and I think it's under equipment, but we'll double check. If you've never seen any of this, well, now you're getting to look at it. It's not under this one though, I guarantee it. So displays maybe. Yep, there we go. So we want the weight to be in pounds. We can leave the temperature in Celsius. I prefer it that way. What else we got in here? The rest of these, I usually, for the most part, leave them as they are. The pause at top of descent is, I think, under equipment here. Or no, it might be under a different one. Allowing glide slope capture before localizer capture, I don't ever do that, so we leave that on deny there. Those are enabled. What am I looking for? ISFD or separate standby instruments. ISFD is the integrated standby flight display. I believe that's what it stands for. You can change signs, all that stuff. This is all PMDG options if you're not aware of these. I've never really gone through these. RAS is installed actually, so I want to put that on. That tells you what runway you're going to. Runway alert and announcement system or something like that. V1 call out, approaching minimums, that's good. Altitude call outs. I need my altitude callouts. I mean, I gotta have them. So 2500, 1000, 500 is a smart call out. That's fine. 4, 3, 2, 1, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. There we go. You can put the water in. Cayenne is blue, in case anybody doesn't know what that is, and so on. Okay, that's enough of that. I got what I need out of there. Let's go back over here to the main menu, and let's do our fuel now. So our fuel for this flight, here's our flight plan, is set at 30,937 pounds. We're going to go ahead and just put it at 31,000 for simplicity. So put that back over there. Type 31,000 and put it in total fuel. Bam, there we go. And it went to 39.96. So it's really close anyway. You can also just do the presets for long range, medium range, short range if you want, but we're going to use what the fuel, what the flight plan offers us. So that takes care of that, and then our payload is 44,235. Where's the total at? Main deck. That's main deck, forward, aft, bulk. Yeah, I guess you could set it random. It'd be nice if we had our total because it's not broken down on here. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm just not going to mess with it. It is what it is, right? Okay, that takes care of all that. You don't need to turn the FMC back off at this point. Now we'll start our ACARS real quick because our fuel is loaded. I've gone ahead and changed us to a Lufthansa aircraft. I don't think we have a TNT aircraft in our fleet, so we're just going to say that we are what's the word I'm looking for? Contracting, or flying this as a contract flight for Lufthansa. This flight is actually scheduled as a passenger flight. We're going to be flying it as a cargo flight, so I just maxed out the passengers. We're working on the possibility of a cargo division over at Millennium. What we're probably going to do is make it so that you can search just cargo flights, and then that way we can start adding to our cargo only flights. Whether or not we do an actual cargo division remains to be seen. We may do something along those lines, or we may do a cargo division that's basically represented in the forums, but not necessarily a separate division within the airline. We haven't decided on that yet, so just a heads up for those of you who like to fly cargo flights. But I'm going to fly this as a cargo flight, even though it's going to be passengers through 8 cars. That's just fine. So we're going to be flying 41,000 feet. Go ahead and start the flight. Oh, we got to engage the parking brake. There you go. So, and this wasn't working before. It's working now, but my parking brakes just weren't working in this. It wasn't just this aircraft, it was also my iFly 747, but they're working now. Start the flight. Everything's good to go. Everything's shut down on the aircraft the way we want it. Shrink all those down there. Let me throw my checklist up over here, and we can dive right into our pre-flight checklist here. We've already loaded and verified the block fuel and the payload. The parking brake is set. Battery switch can go on. Oh, let's see. I haven't messed with this since the tutorial. Primary flight computers, auto and guard closed. That's this one right here. Thrust asymmetry compensation needs to be on auto. That's this one. APU gen switch on down here. IFE and passenger seats, we don't have that in this aircraft, if you remember, because this is a cargo aircraft. Left and right bus tie switches to auto. You know, let me just go through this. These need to be auto, these need to be on, those need to be on, and that takes us down to the APU, but we're not actually going to use the APU at the moment. I don't want to burn the fuel. So go to FS actions and ground connections. We've already got the wheel chock set. We got ground power type, 2 plugs, whatever, but it's removed right now. Now it says jetway. That's alright, we can still connect to here, so we'll connect it, jump back up top, and now you can see our external power is available. And so we'll click both of those on, and that's going to get us rocking and rolling there, and then we'll come back to the APU a little bit later. What comes next? Nav light needs to go on. That is down here somewhere. Nav light right in front of my face. There we go. Logo light as needed, don't need it, don't need cockpit lights. Emergency exit lights, those are up top here, those come on. Left and right pack control switches need to go to auto, those are these two over here. Kind of jump around a lot on this pre-flight checklist here. Ataroos need to go on, and then FMC initialization for the position. So now we hop down here, so you can see powers come on the aircraft. It's reset this display, but we're waiting because we need access to the FMC, and it's not giving it to us right now. So what I'm gonna do is just pause the video for a minute because I think it has to spin up before it gives us access, and then I'll come back and we'll take care of initializing the FMC. Okay, you can see we have the FMC option now, so we can go in here and initialize that. Click on FMC, tells us to enter the inertial position. Go to position initialization. You do want to check, of course, make sure your AirX cycle is up to date and all that. We've already done that. Position initialization, and then page 2. Grab the GPS position here, go back 1 page, and put it in the boxes. And there we go. It's as simple as that to initialize it. And then we don't do anything else with the FMC at the moment. But now we're going to roll right into, boy, that jumps around sometimes, doesn't it? We're going to roll right into our cockpit preparation checklist. That's going to bring us back up top here. We want to make sure, first and foremost, I'm just going to flip those on because they're staring me in the face. Window heat needs to come on. That's these 4 up here. They're already on, so we're good. Primary left and right engine hydraulic pump switches on. These are the primaries. And then primary C1, C2 off. That's these 2 in the middle. Those are off. Right? Yep, those are the primary off. These are all primary, and then these are all demand, right? So left C1, C2, right demand hydraulic pump selectors all in the off position. So all of these 4 off, which they are. No smoking signs, seatbelt signs on. I already clicked those because for whatever reason I stared at them as soon as I jumped in here. EEC mode switches to normal. That's back up top here. Both of these on normal, we're good. And then start switches both on normal as well. I'm sorry, auto start switches to the on position. Yeah, no, auto start to the on, and then the selectors to the normal position. And left forward fuel pump pressure light should be off. That's only going to be off if we started the APU. We haven't done that yet. Then we've got wing engine anti-ice auto or as needed. And anti-ice, we just leave it on auto. I never mess with that. Equipment cooling gas needs to be auto. Gasper switch needs to be on. So let's back up over top here. Equipment cooling is auto. Recirc fans, those are on. And then I never did find the gasper. Maybe recirc is a gasper. I don't know, but I never found it. So there we go. Recirc fan switches in the on position. Nope, that's not the gasper, obviously. Why doesn't this have a gasper in it? I don't even know what a gasper really is. Anybody know what the gasper does? I have no idea. Flight deck temperature control selectors, auto and as desired. These here, auto, flight deck temperatures, auto, and then the main deck forward, cargo temp, forward and aft, those we'll just leave them centered up there. Left and right pack control switches in the auto position, or auto, not position, but click to the auto, and they are. Left and right trim air switches both on, that's these two, they are. Left, center, and right isolation valve switches auto, that's these three, and they are. And then engine APU bleed air switches on and auto. So on for left and right, and then auto for APU. And that takes us to pressurization panel set and auto. So these two both need to be on auto, which they are. Where are we at here? I'm looking over to the left screen over here to get my checklist. I don't actually have it in front of me. I have it a digital version. See? There you go. The sound is supposed to actually stay on when I switch windows. There we go. It did that time, so that's good. Where did we leave off? We did pressurization panel. HOTAS obtain. We're good. We're basically clear weather because I don't have a weather program for P3D yet. I'll get that as soon as I can. And that takes us into the programming of the FMC, which is not all that hard. You guys should be very familiar with the Boeing style FMC at this point. We'll click on route. And this is the 777, so we can request a route. There's only one in the folder, and it should be our route today, EGCC to EDDM. It's a short flight. We'll grab that and request it. And so now it's requesting. We actually have to wait for it before we can load it in there, which is, it's actually realistic. So the request has been sent. That's how it actually works in the real world. You can send requests and stuff like that. That's what a real ACARS does. Load the route. Route 1 uplink loading. See, it jumped in there. I don't remember what the flight number was. It's probably a long one. We're going to change our flight number system too, but that's going to be a little while down the road. There's a way for us to do it. It just requires a lot of legwork. So for those of you who are like, oh my goodness, these ridiculously large flight numbers, don't worry, that'll change eventually. So we'll just go with our typical 2336 for now because that's what I like to do. Alright, performance initialization uplink has already been taken care of. We're going to activate the route first. Bam, we'll clear that off there, we don't need it. And then we go to performance initialization, and you can see it's already put this information in here for us. The cruise altitude's incorrect. We'll change that in a minute. You can accept or reject this. Now, I don't want to redo everything, just because I don't, so I'm going to accept it. But then I'm going to redo the cruise altitude, flight level 410. There we go. Put that in there. Max altitude, flight level 398. That's just our current weight. By the time we get up to 410, we'll be fine. So I'm not worried about that. Wind data uplink is ready. We're good on that. So now we've got that gave us all our information. It's one of the cool things about this PMDG 777 is it gets all that information for you. I wonder if the new PMDG 747 does that. That'd be kind of cool. It should, because it's the same flight management system. So anyway, that gives us our reserves, zero fuel weight, all of that's in there. So we can go to our thrust limit now. We're not super heavy, but I think I'm just going to stick with a normal takeoff, normal climb. That's what I'm going to do. So, and then our takeoff page, our flaps is going to be, I forget what it is on this one, 15. We can go 1.5 or 15. And I don't remember what the normal setting is. Let's go with flaps 5. I think we can get away with that. Remember, for center of gravity, click on it once. It puts it down in the scratch pad for you. Click on it again. There's a way to calculate that. We're not going to do it. So trim will be at 3.25. Center of gravity is at 26%. Click on the departure, and let me grab my flight plan, throw it up over here real quick. And it is going to be the SAN B1R, whatever that happens to be. I got a kid poking their head in the door there. So let's find that. SAN B1R. That's the one we want, so we'll select that one, and it looks like that's going to put us on runway 23 right. Easy enough. Execute that. We're good to go. Back to the route page. It says we have insufficient fuel. Now, one thing we can do, hold on, I have to kiss my wife. Love you, baby. One thing we can do to check on the insufficient fuel is if you just click on FMC and then progress over here, it tells us we're going to have 9.2 left on the fuel based on the route that it's given us. and that is coming from our performance page, right? So if we go back over to our performance page, go to index, performance, there we go. So it's got our reserves at 16,000, right? But it's telling us over here with our current fuel and our current route that it's going to leave us 9.2 or 9,200 pounds. I think it's pounds. It might be gallons. It's probably pounds, but I don't remember. Anyway, so there's a couple ways we can approach this. We could say, okay, so we're off by about 7,000, and we could just add 7,000 of fuel, but keep in mind that when you add, let's just say it's pounds, you add 7,000 pounds of fuel to the aircraft, it's going to burn more fuel initially, and so we're still going to end up being under the 16. We could add a little more than that, and that should put us at our reserve, or we could just change our reserves to, you know, 9. Right? Either way. So I think that probably there's a reason that that's set at 16, so probably the best option is to add fuel so that we have the proper reserve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 9,000 pounds of fuel to what we currently have. Now some of you are probably saying that's not the right way to do it. Okay, I understand, but we're going to go with 39,996. So let's just put 40,000 in there. And that should at least put us close, right? So the reserves is still at 16. Now we go back over here to our page, and so that gives us 17.8 left over on arrival. So I'm good with that, and that's what I'm going to stick with. All right. So back to our departure and arrival page. It's the 23 right departure off of, where is it at? Sanby 1R. Go to our legs page, and here's your legs in here, all kinds of information. I haven't even looked at the departures yet. There we go. Okay, so and don't worry about it. I'll look at the departure before we actually go anywhere, and then of course you guys will get your departure briefing before we head out. Anyway, so what else we got? We need to go back to our takeoff page, and now we can put in our V speeds. So V1, rotate, and V2. And I've got the weather on just fair weather, so we should have minimal wind, if any at all, anyway. And there are plenty of weather options available, especially I've got Orbix, so I've got the Orbix weather options, but there's no real world weather option with P3D. Or if there is, I don't know where it's at. I haven't messed with P3D very much, to be honest with you, so it's still a little new to me. But I'm gonna get, I want to get Active Sky and Active Sky Cloud out for it as soon as I can anyway. But as you can see, I already bought the 777 for it. That's 135 bucks for you, those of you who don't know. And then I also bought the come on, brain function, the iFly 747. The reason I went with the iFly, because some of you are probably saying, well, you should have bought the PMDG. Well, I want to get it, but it's $135, right? 135 bucks, and the iFly was 60 bucks. So when, you know, money's an issue, money's tight. Now you didn't have another 135 bucks, so you know, if somebody's desperate to see the PMDG 747 and P3D version 4 and you want to donate it, I won't say no to that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait until I got 135 bucks to buy it, and that's gonna be after I get my weather, Active Sky weather, and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind if you're chomping at the bit about that. Okay, enough talk about that. So that sets up our FMC. Now we can take care of our MCP. So we want to set the altimeter, which is already set, and you can see it's at 2992, right? So like I said, fair weather, pretty straightforward. We do want to get our flight directors on, so there's 1, there's 2. We're at 152 is our V2 speed, so we'll put this down to, whoa, 152, not way down there. 1, 2, and then I don't know about altitude restrictions yet, so I'm just going to throw this up to flight level 410. Let's change that to 1,000. So we're going to put it at flight level 410 for the moment, but if there's altitude restrictions when I take a look at the departure, then I'll put those in there, and I'll be sure to mention that, because I'm pretty bad about actually doing that most of the time. So what else? But did the brakes go off again? They shouldn't have, but maybe they did. Yeah, so the brakes kicked off somehow, and so it's already saying that our flight's going. So we're 13 minutes into our flight already. Oops, I don't know how that happened, but anyway. Okay, well, let's press on. What else we got here? Flight instruments set, no flags. Yeah, so essentially my brain just keeps going blank here. essentially what you have is very similar to the 787. We've done several flights in that recently, so we should be straight and level here. We should have nothing in this box. Toga here, flight director here, and then it would be no V-speeds, but of course we've got our V-speed set, so we're good on that. Auto brake needs to be RTO, that's down here, scroller down. Common audio panel, we're not going to mess with that. Transponder TCAS needs to be test and set, so let's fly over here. Here's our transponder. Test it by clicking in the middle. It's doing its test right now. You can see it's testing, saying traffic there.
TCAS test pass.
There we go. So we're good on that. And then we can put it to TARA now. I'm sure it's later on in the checklist, but we'll put it there now anyway. Aileron and rudder trim are both set to 0. And then taxi and takeoff briefing complete. Those will be completed as we taxi out, not right now. So that takes us right into our before start checklist. We're moving right along pretty quick here. So cabin and cargo doors need to be closed and armed. And you can click on this guy over here. Let's pop this up for you. And then let's zip over so we can see it. So this is where you change your ICAS so that you can see things like doors and stuff. So if we click on doors, you can see they're closed and armed. And this is a cargo aircraft, so it's just got the 2 doors. So that's fantastic. And then we need to disconnect external, right? So let's put this back on engines first. There we go, engines, because we're going to need that when we start them. Let's start the APU. Right click twice to the start position. And then if you come down here, should show APU starting, right? I haven't done this in a little while, guys. Status, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. So if we pop that back up, there's the APU right there. And right now it's doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Why is my APU? There it goes. It's just taking its sweet time. I was starting to think maybe there was a problem with the aircraft. So we'll wait for that to finish spinning up. I'm trying to keep the microphone a little further away from my mouth. I've got a couple of you said that you get a lot of peaking on my microphone, and to be honest with you, the amount of time it takes to record a video, edit a video and all, I don't really have time to edit the audio. And I tried using that audio banana thing or whatever that one you recommended, which works fantastic, by the way. It really does. It works fantastic. But trying to run the tracks separate from the video, it's really a pain in the butt to line them up, to be honest with you. So I kind of stopped doing that. I hope we're not going to have issues with the brakes. I got this brake source thing over here. I don't really care for that, but see, it keeps saying brake source on there. I've had serious problems with the brakes. And I'm going to be really upset if we have problems with the brakes on this video. I really am. I've actually been in touch with PMDG about it. We've been trying to get it squared away, and it's been a nightmare. Okay, turn the primary external power off. It says secondary was available, but I guess we're not using it. So now we'll go in here to menu real quick. FS actions. Now we've got our park and brake set, so we go to ground connections. Let's remove these and remove the ground chocks. It still says brake source, which is disturbing, to be honest with you, but we'll see what happens here. Go back to the FMC, jump back up here and put this back on engines. That's where we want that for now. And let's see, what does that leave us with? Right electric demand hydraulic pump selector needs to be auto. Oh yeah, this goes weird. So it goes right, and then it goes primary C1 and C2, and then it goes left demand. So this one to auto, these two, then this one to auto, and then these two to auto. Kind of weird the way it does that, right? Left and right fuel pump switches, all fuel pump switches can come on at this point. There we go. And I don't think we have any in the center. We don't have that much fuel. Seatbelt signs are on. Beacon light can go on at this point. Beacon light is this one here. Wing lights can go on as well. Recall switch needs to be pushed. Where are you at? Recall switch right here. Cancel recall. I know engines are shut down. Of course they're shut down. They're supposed to be. And then that takes us right into our engine start checklist. So I'm going to pause the video for just a minute like I normally do. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then, oh good, the brake selector thing went off. Hopefully everything works right then. And then we're going to push back and start the engines. I'll be right back. Okay, we're ready to push back here. We're going to jump down. I was just taking a look at the departure. It's going to be interesting. It'll be quite a departure brief coming up here, and we got a bit of a taxi, so we're going to have some time for that. Let's use the pushback feature on here. Go in here, and the total distance got it 265. We want to turn the nose left, and we want to turn it 90 degrees. And I'm going to stick with 265. I never really know how far it's supposed to push, but I'm just going to stick with that and we'll see how it goes. So we can start the pushback.
And ground, cockpit.
Go ahead, Captain.
We're all set to go up here. We've been cleared to push and start at your discretion.
Pop this up.
Power and air are clear, doors closed. We are ready for pushback. Release parking brake, please.
Release the parking brake.
Okay, parking brake is off. Cleared to push.
Come on. Any day. Okay, we're going to set our trim. I didn't do that yet. You might already be pushing. There he goes. Okay, so trim is 3.5. We're trimmed a little bit too high here. Oh, now my trim doesn't want to move. Probably because I don't have the engine started, so we'll have to set the trim here. We're pushing back now. Okay, so let's just go ahead and take care of the engine start. It's very simple. We want to make sure our secondary display unit's on engines here. The engine, we're going to announce that we're starting the engines. Okay, we're going to be starting number 1. It's on auto start, so just roll it to the start position or left click it. And then come down here, and as soon as you do that, you can go ahead and turn the fuel on. Yeah, it jumped on me again. And then the engine's going to auto start. So let's let it do that. It is turning the nose the wrong way. Didn't I say nose left? I said nose left, didn't I? I swear I said nose left. Let it start the engine, push back. I said turn nose left, 90 degrees. It's turning the nose to the right anyway. Oh, come on. Now maybe it'll turn the nose to the left. Let's see. A little frustrating. I'll probably be talking a little bit louder as the engines come up, so you may get a little peaking in the audio. I apologize for that, but such is life. Yeah, he's going to turn it to the right. And I'll tell you why. Let's hop outside here for a sec. I'll show you. So the way this default scenery is set up, this line ends right here. Even though in the actual airport you can go that way, right there, which is where I want to go. But for some reason, you know, it's whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to stop the pushback at this point because now I'm just annoyed by it. So let's just stop. There we go. Sometimes it jumps, the camera jumps when I click on the mouse. Okay, set the parking brake. There we go. Okay, engine 1 is good. The mouse keeps jumping on me. Okay, let's go ahead and start engine 2. I'm going to go ahead and introduce fuel. So we're basically going to make a really hard left turn as we taxi out here, which is a little obnoxious, but it is what it is. I like that I can, with P3D, I can actually change screens and the sound still goes, as long as I don't change applications or something. I don't know. Just waiting for the engine to start now. Then we'll take care of our before taxi stuff, checklist, all that good stuff. Waiting on the engine, that's all. Waiting on the engine, waiting on the engine. You can see right here, you can see it's quite the departure. Gonna be fun. We're just gonna follow the flight director. It's gonna make it easy enough, but you'll get a briefing on the departure here in a couple minutes. We're gonna have a little extra taxi time since I have to make a U-turn here. It's ridiculous. Stupid pushback. Did the thing click off? It did. Okay, so our engines are up and running, so let's go ahead and take care of our before taxi checklist. Let's see, left and right generator control switches need to be on and lights off. They are, so we're good. APU selector switch can go to the off position. Bam, it is. Engine start selectors normal. They both are, so we're good there. Left and right pack control switches auto and lights off. Those take a minute. They will. The lights will go out here shortly. So left, center, right isolation valve switches auto and lights off. That's these three here. They're all auto and the lights are off. Engine bleed air switches on and lights off. On and on. Both the lights are off. Flaps set. That's going to be flaps 5 we said. So let's confirm that. So one. That's 2 clicks on the flaps there. So that should be flaps 5, and we confirm it. Look on here, you can see it's going to flaps 5. Next, I have to look at my list over here. Stabilizer trim set. So it does come at this point in the checklist, and it's supposed to be 3.5, so that's good. So let's make sure that works. Oh, my trim's not working. Oh, I can't trim the nose forward now? Okay, well, I guess I have to do it this way. Oh, that's going to be an issue. There's 3.5. Okay, so obviously the trim's being interfered with by another controller, and I think I know which controller it is, so I'm going to deal with that here in just a minute, because I'm gonna have to pause anyway to turn on my track IR, so I'll deal with that here in a minute. Anyway, okay, where's my checklist? There it is. Stabilizer trim is set, flight controls free and correct, so we want to check those. So if we go over here, let's fly over so you can see it. It's kind of cool that you can fly around in here, right? Okay, where's flight controls? There we go. Flight controls, you can see them down here, so we'll go full left. It's working. Full right, working. All the way up. All the way down. Neutral. And then full left on the rudder. Full right on the rudder. And neutral. And we're going to go on flight controls. Recall switch we need to push. Nothing pops up on that, so we're good. Wing and engine anti-ice auto as needed. We leave it as it is. Taxi light will come on, and then runway turn off lights. We don't need those yet either. So let's turn the taxi light on. There we go. And we're ready to rock and roll. However, I'm going to pause for a minute because I got to turn track IR on, and I'm going to fix that issue with the trim switch on my yoke, because I think I know which controller is interfering with it. So back in a minute. Alright, so I pretty much tried everything I can, and for some reason now the trim doesn't want to work properly. I can trim the nose up, but I can't trim the nose down. It did work briefly, randomly it decided to work, and then now it doesn't want to work. So I'm pushing the button right now. I've changed the button. I made sure there were no other assignments. Not working. Oh, and every time I pause it, the parking brake goes off. I don't know. I have no idea what the issue is. So if we have to trim nose down, we're gonna have to do it using this guy right here. So it's gonna make it a little tougher, but we'll get through it. We'll be alright. So let's put this back. You know, we haven't used the checklist function yet at all, have we? Let's take a look at our checklist real quick, just so we can say we did it. Okay, pre-flight, oxygen, didn't really test it. Flight instruments, flight control switches cut off. No, that's all pre-flight though, that's so it wouldn't be. Before starts all good. And then pre-flight, nope. Before taxi, anti-ice is good, recall is checked, auto brake is RTO, flight controls are checked, ground equipment is clear, so we're good on that. It's going to keep taking us back to the pre-flight every single time. And then our before takeoff will be flaps, so we're good there. Jump back up here, let's put this on engines, and let's get this show on the road. Track IR coming on, little jump here. There we go. And now we can take the parking brakes off. There we go. Let's start taxiing it out. We're going to have to flip a U-turn here. Let's get the aircraft moving. Maybe. There we go. Now she's going somewhere. Alright. And as we swing it around this way, let's go ahead and take care of that taxi and departure briefing. Alright, let's take care of this taxi and departure briefings real quick. I'm using the parking stand chart for Manchester rather than the airport chart, because the airport chart is a much broader view and it's just a lot harder to see what the taxiways are and so on. So we're parked over here. We were supposed to push out. As you can see, all these taxiways continue. We're supposed to push out with our nose pointed this way. We did not. So we'll flip a UE here onto November. Down here we'll hit Lima taxiway and hang a left, and then we'll hang a quick right here and take this on down. Now this is it says Juliet on here, but I can promise you, because again I record these after the fact a lot of times, so I've already recorded this, I've already taxied. Come on, my brain just won't work today. Just forget it. I give up. Just you guys, we're going that way. It's ridiculous. It's not Juliet taxiway, it's the Kilo taxiway. Now I don't know, I'm sure the chart is right, and the airport layout is somehow, or is not somehow, but the airport layout in P3D is wrong. So it's not going to be the Juliet taxiway that we're going to hang a left here on. It's going to be the Kilo taxiway. We're going to take that all the way down here to the end, and then we're going to hold short here of runway 23 right, and you will see when we get there that it says runway 24 right in P3D, and that's again because P3D is not really up to date. as far as all the airports go and so on. But anyway, that's your taxi brief. Let's go ahead and take a look at our departure briefing. Alright, so the departure is going to get a little wild here, and should be interesting. I already know that I messed it up, so just look for that coming up here pretty soon. But anyway, it is the, what is the name of this? The Sanba 1R departure, or the Sanba 1, I don't know what the difference is between 1Y and 1R, but ours is supposed to be the 1R. You can see there's an absolute ton of information on here. Scottish control is going to be on 134.425. The airport elevation is 257 feet. Transition altitude is 5,000 feet. You'll hear me talk about the difference in transition altitudes once we take off. And then there's all kinds of information on here. So we're not talking ATC, but we'll read through these real quick. When instructed, contact Scottish control after takeoff. Report I don't know what CS is. SID designator. What is CS on that? Report CS. Not really sure. But anyway, your SID designator, current altitude, and initial clearance altitude. SIDs include noise preferential routes. Refer to 10-4. Expect first CPDLC. What am I? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, there's all that information. I'm completely lost in this right now. I'm completely lost in this entire flight. I've already made a bunch of mistakes. The flight's going in the background. You can probably actually hear the sound of the flight in the background. But anyway, yeah, this has been a bit of a nightmare. Speed max is 250 knots below 10,000 feet unless otherwise authorized. Okay, so here's our departure. We're gonna, right after climbing out, we're gonna take a right to 275 degrees. Until we swing around here to Sanba, then to Tabli, or Sanba 1R, and then out here to Tabli, and then Sanba. We need to be between 3,000 and 5,000 feet when we are here, which is distance 10 nautical miles from MCT, and then out to Sanba we need to be at 5,000 feet at Sanba. And there's a warning here, no turns below 760 feet. So we need to be at 760 feet before we start making this here. We're going to mess it up anyway, I promise you. You will see when we get there. Do not climb above 5,000 feet until instructed by ATC. Well, we didn't use ATC, so after we cross Sanba, we're going to climb to cruise altitude. And then there's all kinds of information here about speed profiles and all that. I'm not going to sit here and read through all of this. If you guys want to, pause the video and read it for yourself. But you know, obviously, if we're flying in the real world, this is all critical information. We would abide by every last detail of it. I just don't want to read through it right now because I'm tired, I'm lazy, and I'm already a little frustrated with this flight. So there's your departure briefing, and let's go mess it up. My brain's kind of all over the place. This thing's saying insufficient fuel now, which is a little frustrating. Now it's saying we're going to be at 14.6, probably because we were sitting there so long for me trying to figure out what do you call it? Now my brain doesn't want to work. I'm just going to put this at 12. I was trying to figure out why the trim's not working. That was the issue. Couldn't figure out why the trim wasn't working, and I sat here trying to figure it out and burned more fuel than I should have. So it is what it is. Let's take care of our before takeoff checklist. Landing lights need to come on. Runway turn-off lights can come on as well. Taxi lights can go off. Strobe lights need to go on. And traffic mode, we've already well, there's that little jump again. You can click on this for traffic. There's not going to be any traffic because I don't have any AI traffic turned on. We got to run the clock and put transponder to TARA. So let's start the clock. There it is. Clock's ticking. Track hour coming back on. Little jump. There we go. And let's roll her out there. Look at my throttles over here. Let's get her moving here. Now it says 24 right on the runway. Clearly that is outdated because my chart is more current than P3D's runways are. I would think that with all the updates they've done that they would have the runways right, but of course that's a lot of airports too, so it's kind of hard to make that argument, isn't it? I'm sure we have more than enough runway to work with. We're not really that heavy, so... Oh, you could just barely hear her, huh? There's probably a sound setting I need to change or something. Again, I haven't messed with P3D all that much, so there's a ways to go yet. So in the departure briefing, you did notice, I don't know if I mentioned it because I haven't recorded it yet, but in the departure briefing, we talked about, we should have talked about the, oh, come on, my brain just doesn't want to work. We should have talked about the altitude restriction of 5,000 feet, and I have put it into the MCP there. There we go, MCP, Mode Control Panel. Let's go ahead and get throttles coming up a little bit. Oh, Number 2 when it... That's one of the issues I've had, is the number 2 engine will go into reverse on its own occasionally. There's the toga button. And it just did that right there. Number 2 engine, for whatever reason, decided to go into reverse. Awesome. And it's not my controllers, I promise you. It does it on all the aircraft. Oh, it says no V speeds now. What happened? Oh, I know why. Okay. Well, we're well beyond our V2, so we can definitely rotate. I know what happened. It's because I changed the fuel. Gear coming up. Oh, boy, that's a pain in the butt. I'm having all kinds of problems on this flight, huh? See what happens when you get away from the series for a while? Flaps going to 1. Yeah, we're already climbing it like we're climbing like a banshee. We don't need to climb that fast, that quick. 5,000 feet per minute. Okay, flaps coming up, and I'm gonna put autopilot on right now. And just there we go. I was waiting for that thrust reduction. I put autopilot on right away because it's climbing like 6,000 feet per minute. That's just insane. I mean, it's possible for it to do that, but you know what? That's because we had it on. What do you call it? We had it on normal takeoff or whatever. Track hire coming off, little jump here. Well, I'm just a soup sandwich on this entire takeoff speeds. Now you want to tell me? Now it gives me the message takeoff speeds deleted. Thanks for that. Right on time. Go to the legs page. Okay, we're already at transition altitude, so we can go ahead and click the standard. They sync on both sides, and you can see we're already at 5,000 feet as well, and it's not following our flight plan at all. What the heck? It's supposed to follow that around. Oh, goodness. Okay, let's go to... That's 3,000 at or above. Let's go to that one. Oh, my goodness. Execute that. There we go. Make your turn. LNAV, VNAV. I had them armed, right? Did I have them armed? Maybe I didn't have them armed. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's because I didn't arm them. Oh, I am a soup sandwich, you guys. This has been just probably one of the worst. I'm just, look at this. I'm at 270 knots, so you know I'm getting an overspeed warning on A cars. It's being corrected, but you know, you can get a PIREP rejected for that. If you didn't know that. Where is it at? Aircraft data. Yeah, indicated airspeed. No, that's not PIREP rejection though. There are times when you're actually allowed to go over 250 knots below 10,000, but not in this case. So yeah, complete soup sandwich. That was just this entire flight up to this point has been, I wouldn't say a disaster, but it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great at all. I've made more mistakes, I think, so far than I've made in a long time. So anyway, okay, let me pop up my, I know this thing popping up is probably annoying, but okay, so at Sandba I got to be at 5,000, right? And then beyond that we can climb. So Sandba's coming up here. It says flight level 5,000, and then if we scroll it out a little bit, there's no altitude restriction on the next one. So once we get past Sandba, we can change our altitude, and we should be good to go on that. So let me shrink that back down over there, and let's take care of our after takeoff checklist. It's supposed to technically do it above 10,000 feet, but we've got this altitude restriction that's going to last a couple more minutes. So I just want to take care of this. Landing gear is up, auto brake is off. It does that automatically. Above 10,000 feet, the landing lights will come off. Seatbelt signs will be as desired, and then transition altitude. We already hit that and set standard. It's different all over Europe, which is kind of strange to me, but you folks from Europe know what I'm talking about. Whereas in the U.S., it's 18,000 feet, period, all the time, 18,000 feet. But in Europe, it varies depending on where you're at. So we're already past our transition altitude here, and we've already set standard. So there's really nothing else to do. We're about to cross Sandba here. What are we? We're a mile from it. So let's crank this up to 41,000. And you notice it's not climbing yet, okay, because we have to actually click it. So you click it like a button on the center there. There we go, that's altitude intervene, and now it's on VNAV speed, and it's going to start climbing for us. Once it gets above 10,000, we'll bring the landing lights off, it'll increase speed, all of that good stuff, and hopefully this entire flight won't be a complete disaster, but hey, we all make mistakes, right? Good thing it's flight sim and not the real world. That's going to wrap it up so far. Well, it's not going to wrap it up, what am I talking about? that's it for the moment, other than the fact that we're climbing at 5,000 stinking feet again, which is absolutely ludicrous. There's 6,000 feet. That's just insane. Anyway, so for this extremely rapid climb, it's time for some of that obligatory elevator music. Let's take care of that. Alright folks, as you can see, we're just about on our top of descent here. I have not taken care of the arrival briefing yet. I'm going to do that immediately after we start our descent, and then we'll roll right into the approach briefing, and that's just because I forgot to record the blank space during the flight to make sure that was taken care of. So, let's take care of our descent checklist real quick. First things first, down here on the FMC, and I'll just pop it up for you on this one. Hit the initial reference button down here, and we're going to choose our approach reference speed. We're going to go with flaps 30 at 136 knots because why not, right? So there we go, and then we'll leave that page up and we'll try to remember 136 knots. Flight instruments, nav, altitude, radios, all of that stuff is set. We don't need to mess with any of that. We've already reset the MCP altitude 5,000 feet. You'll see why when we get to the approach briefing. And we're just, like I said, we're just about on top of descent here. I mean, we're like right there. So it's going to start descending on its own here shortly. Transition altitude, I don't remember what it is in this area. It may still be 5,000 feet, but we'll find out. The aircraft knows, so it'll tell us anyway, so that's nice. Wing engine anti-ice, auto as needed. We just leave it as is. Push the recall button. That's way over here. There's the descent starting right now. Nothing on the recall, so we're good there. Auto brake as required. We've got over 13,000 feet of runway. We're not going to need any auto brake today. I think we'll be just fine. Landing data has been taken care of in the FMC, and then approach briefing will be completed here shortly. And then that's it. So we're on the descent now, so let's go ahead and let's roll right into the arrival briefing, and then I'll try not to mess it up, and we should be able to roll right into the approach briefing. Alright, so we've already pretty much made a complete mess of everything up to this point. Let's hope we don't continue that tradition, but I can tell you I've already made another mistake. It is what it is at this point. Yeah, back to the life of a virtual cargo pilot. Apparently this is a rough re-entry into the cargo pilot world for us. But anyway, we're going to take the Anora 3A arrival today into Munich, Germany. And we're going to enter out here at Anora. We need to be at or above flight level 250. And we'll take the 130 degrees from there down to Zurich, or yeah, we'll just go with Zurich. Continuing on that course to Burham. And then a little bit of a right turn to 135 degrees. Take that down here to Rock Hill, and then on in from there. Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing. I can tell you I made a complete mess of this thing, because when we do our approach briefing in a little while, you're going to see our transition point onto the approach. Well, I accidentally hit the button to go direct to that transition point, and so that's where we are flying at this moment. But this was supposed to be our arrival, so I figured, well, let's brief it anyway. Just so that we've at least done that. ATIS is on 123.125. Our airport elevation today will be at 1,487 feet above sea level. Let's try not to mess up the approach. What do you say? Let's at least have something right on this flight, right? Because it's been an absolute nightmare. Okay, so at the very least, I hope to get the approach right today. We'll see how it goes. I'm not holding out high hopes at this point. It's going to be the ILS or localizer approach for runway 8 for us today. 8 right, actually. There's 8 left and 8 right. I got slightly distracted there because my son poked his head in. He's got it's Halloween today, and he's looking good. Looking good, buddy. I'm liking it. Looking good. Hey, close the door for me. There you go. He's going as a Marine, actually, but a wounded Marine who's all kinds of jacked up. So looking good. Anyway, on to our approach briefing here. The ATIS is going to be 123.125. Munich arrivals on 120.775. And then Munich approach on 127.950. I don't know what the director is, but let's see. It says the number 1 there. Where's the number 1 at? I have no idea. Can't even find it. Anyway, the director's on 132.3, tower on 120.5, and ground on 121.825. Our localizer frequency is 109.3, and IMSE is our identifier. Final approach course 080 degrees. Glide slope starts at 4.1 miles from the localizer at 2,780 feet. And the ILS decision height is, or decision altitude is 1,686 feet, or decision height at 200 feet. Airport elevation 1,487 feet, and the runway touchdown zone is at 1,486 feet. Okay, we got all that out of the way. Let's take a quick look here. We are going to enter the approach at Bagan, And this is where I made my mistake earlier and I hit direct to Bagan. So we are flying direct to Bagan, and then we will be on approach from there. And that's at 080 degrees. So pretty simple as far as that goes, but if we hop down here, we need to be at 5,000 feet when we get to Bagan, because that's where we're supposed to intercept the glide slope. We will continue on down from there until 2.7 miles from IMSE, then down to 0.7, and looks like there's 2 missed approach points in here. It probably has to do with the differences in visibility. Not 100% certain on that, but that would be my primary guess. Let's talk about the missed approach. If we have a missed approach, we're going to climb straight ahead to until we are 1.0 miles east of DMS, which is where's DMS? It just shows 1.0 DMS. Where's DMS? Oh, here it is, right here, Munich DMS. Okay, so that's the VOR for Munich, but you can barely see it because there's so much going on here. Anyway, till we're 1 mile east of it, or 1,900 feet, whichever is later. So if we're not at 1,900 feet when we're 1 mile from DMS, then we continue straight ahead until we reach 1,900 feet. Then turn right direct to the Munich VOR, climbing to 5,000 feet. So that would be out here at the Munich VOR, and then on from there. As far as our runway goes, we should have PAPI lights on the left-hand side. And then this is again our missed approach procedures. And other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So I've made a complete mess of every briefing. I've made a complete mess of the departure. I've made a complete mess of the arrival. I even made a mess of the approach briefing. Everything's been a disaster on this flight. My trim's not working. It's just all kinds of fun. So let's try and not actually mess up the approach itself and see if I can land the plane without breaking anything. Alright, so we're looking at a nice long straight in approach here. We're just a little over 10 miles out from Bagan. Let's take care of our before landing checklist. Actually, you know what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and let's take control of the speed here. And that automatically goes to VNAV speed when you do that. But typically when you put that first, boy, we got some chop in there. When you put that first flap setting out, a lot of times it'll go back to VNAV path. But in this case, it is not. And it doesn't want to let me arm the localizer. There it is, back to VNAV path, but it will not let me arm the localizer right now, which is a little frustrating. It must not be picking it up yet. I mean, it should be. It should definitely be picking it up by now. It's definitely tuned in. Let's just double check that right here. If we go down to the nav radio, it's definitely tuned in there. So yeah, I don't know. It's not letting me pick it yet. So we may end up flying this manually. We'll find out here. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of speed brakes out there. Let's bring that speed down as well. We need to slow way down. Let's bring it down to 200 knots here. Yeah, it's kind of strange that it's not letting me arm the localizer. It's obviously not picking up the frequency. And I'm pretty sure there's a way to change it, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure. Yeah, we're on nav radio, FMC comms, route 1, position report. Nope, it's not gonna let me do anything. That's interesting. Well, I guess we're gonna be hand flying the approach here, guys. Boy, just everything has just been ridiculous on this entire flight. It really has. That's alright though. We'll get her down to 5,000 feet, and then it looks like we'll just have to hand fly it in. What are you dinging at me for? Hold on, let me get the landing gear down. Get the next setting of flaps in there. Go ahead and bring those speed brakes back up. Arm them. Speed brakes are now armed. Landing lights are on. Let's go ahead and take care of our before landing checklist. Landing lights are on. Speed brakes are armed. Signs are on. We never turn those off anyway. I leave them on auto. And then set QNH, which is going to be 299 or 2, but 5,000 feet is the transition altitude, so it's going to be a minute before we see that. Okay, so still not going to let me grab the localizer. I don't know why. So we hit 5,000 feet here, and then looks like we're going to be taking over. I'm not even seeing a runway. I mean, there should be an airport, you know, just 10 miles ahead. It should be like right there. Can't really see it at the moment, so I guess we'll just kind of suck it up. And let's go ahead and, Well, we don't want to take it down that far. Let's take it down to 2,000 feet, and let's see what happens. It's not gonna let me arm it. I have no idea why. I don't know if that's an error, if it's just, it's clearly not picking it up, even though it's got the frequency in there. So the frequency must be wrong. So yeah, I guess we're SOL on that one, huh? Oh, there's my airport. Now it loaded in. You know, I need to change the distance that things load in at. That's what it is, huh? Yeah, it's still not going to let me arm it. Okay, down to 135 we go. Actually, 138. That's what we want to go to. 38. And you should see, so you see all this stuff loading in. That just means that, you know what, I need to increase the distance of my auto gen, I think is what it is. Anyway, in the meantime, down we go. And it's going to continue the descent for now, and we're going to take over here in just a minute. You should see over here, if it's working out right, you should be seeing our altitude, vertical speed, all of that stuff. So that's pretty cool. I found a way to make that work. If you see it, if you don't, then obviously I didn't find a way to make it work, right? Still descending a little fast there, but let's just let the aircraft do its thing. Track higher coming on, a little jump here. There we go. That's a big jump, really. Okay, so now we're below transition altitude, so we can click this guy. I mean, it's still 299.2, but still. Yeah, it's descending pretty fast. Next setting of flaps coming out. As it slows down, though, the rate of descent will need to decrease. And we're still just, we're right on glide slope right now, so I'm not overly concerned about it. I'm going to let the autopilot be for the moment, and I'll tell you why. The main reason why I'm doing that is because that trim button's not working, right? Yeah, I definitely got to change that auto gen. I got to get it to load in sooner, because that's all that should be loaded in now, so we don't have to worry about it. Anyway, because the trim button's not working, I want the aircraft to have itself trimmed out before I take control of it, just in case that nose down trim doesn't want to work. It's getting a little choppy there. I think the chop has to do with me recording this stuff over here, but we'll see. I don't know. It could just be because it's still trying to load all this stuff in too, right? Still looking good. We're on the glide slope. Everything's going good. Let's go ahead and kick the autopilot off now. There we go. Okay, hand flying. I'm going to leave the throttles as they are for the moment. It's looking good though. Leave those auto throttles on. Speed brakes are armed. Autopilot's disconnected. We're looking good. There's no wind, of course. It's a lot easier to land when there's no wind or anything. I think I actually, what were we, 135, so we're actually a little slower than we should be. We should have been at 140, not 138, as far as our approach speed. Let's go ahead and turn the auto throttles off. There we go. Take control of the throttles there. And we're hand flying. Again, really easy to hand fly without any wind or anything like that, so.
Approaching 08 right.
Bringing those up just a hair. We're descending just a little fast. Looking good though. Just a tiny bit low there.
500.
Good, get her back on the glide slope, drifting just a hair to the right. Alright, let's listen to our call outs here. Little chop. It's I hope it's not that other recording program, because I'd like to be able to keep doing that, you know. It's not horrible.
200. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Loaded her a little. Oh, what was that? I pulled way too hard on it there. That was a terrible landing. Okay. Get those landing lights off. Boy, this whole flight's just been a wreck, guys. Start the APU. Try not to... See, now it wants to do 20 knots. Good Lord. Can't get a break today. Okay, after landing checklist here. Landing lights are off. Strobe lights are not off. Let's turn those off real quick. That's that one there. Taxi light is on. APU is on. Wing and engine anti-ice remains on auto. Auto brake is off. We didn't even use it. Speed brakes. Let's make sure those are down. They should be now. Oh, boy, it's acting like it's like the brakes are being held or something. Which is, I mean, like, you got to really throttle up, and then it just kind of goes, and then it slows down really quick there. Flaps are up. Transponder mode needs to go to standby. See if we can take care of that without running off the taxiway here. There we go. Standby. Well, I just made a complete mess of like everything on this flight. I don't know why I've had such a hard time with it, to be honest with you. I don't usually struggle quite this much. I guess we all have a hard time once in a while, right? Okay, so I don't really know where the cargo ramp is here. I could have pulled up the chart probably. Would have made more sense, but you know, that's just in keeping with every other mistake I've made this entire flight. It's just, all of it's just been a nightmare. It really has. Pretty sure they don't have taxiway signs sitting out here on the apron in the real world. But we got them here in the sim, so I'm just gonna go over here and pick a parking space, and then I will be back on here, and we'll go through all our shutdown and securing procedures. Okay, we found us a parking space here. Let's go ahead and jump right into our shutdown checklist. First things first, we got to get that parking brake on. That's done. APU should be up and running now. It is. We should be good on that. We can double check that. If you popped it, we'll pop this guy up and go to our status page. APU is good to go, so we can shut the engines down. Well, there we go. A little delay there, huh? Taxi light should have come off as I pulled in, but I never do that. I'm terrible about it, actually. Left and right engine control switches cut off. Seatbelt signs can go off. Not that it matters. We don't have any passengers on this one. Beacon light can go off at this point. Nav light, says nav light on. Okay, let's hop up top here. So C1 and C2 air demand hydraulic pump selectors need to go off. These are the demand here, so these two off. And then left electric demand pump off. And then primary C1 and C2 pump switches off and off. And then right electric demand pump off. And then left and right fuel pump switches go off. And flight director switches can come off and off. We weren't able to fly our ILS. APU selector as needed. It's on right now. Let's go ahead and jump up here now. We've got all this stuff turned off. Let's go ahead and turn the APU off now. And then let's turn the battery off. Actually, emergency exit lights off first. There we go. And then battery off. That should shut everything down. Maybe. There we go. We get our little warning there. It says we're on battery still. I don't know why. Oh, because Ataru was on. Okay, there we go. Those can stay as they are. I think everything else can kind of stay as it is. Note left and right pack control switches both need to go off. APU selector switch is already off. Battery switch is off, and that means this flight is done, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I do appreciate you joining me on this flight. You know, I could have easily edit errors out. I could redo the flight to make up for my mistakes and stuff like that. But you know what? I kind of tend to prefer leaving those in there so that everybody can see, you know, we all have struggles like that sometimes. And this was just one of those days where I was struggling. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed the flight, though. I do apologize for some of the errors and stuff like that. Don't beat me up too bad down in the comments there. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We're well over 5,000 subscribers. I'm working on getting an opportunity to do a nice cinematic video for that, so I appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. Makes it easier to find in the search queue, so I really appreciate that. I appreciate all of my subscribers. Your guys' support has been fantastic over the last couple years, and I just really appreciate it. So don't forget, you can like us on Facebook. The link is on the homepage there, on my channel homepage. You can follow us on Twitter. Link is there as well. And then, of course, you can follow us on Twitch at Captain Mac 35 8888. Don't forget to go over to macairvirtual.com, sign up for Mac Air, 3 separate divisions, 1 single profile, the only virtual airline out there that has that going on, and we'll probably be the only one ever to really have it going on. So we're looking to add more divisions soon, and we're looking to add more pilots. So special thank you to all of the staff over at Mac Air. I appreciate everything that you guys do. And a special thank you to all of our pilots over at Mac Air. You guys show great professionalism, especially when you consider we're in a virtual environment. So I just really appreciate all you guys. And I appreciate everybody who takes time to watch these videos, takes time to sign up with a virtual airline, and just all the support is fantastic. I can't say it enough. So I really appreciate it, guys. And that's going to wrap it up for this one. So as always, until next time, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC, or if you're performing aerobatics, in which case it's all right. God bless you all. Have a fantastic day.